All right. So we are doing a MegaDough brochure that's a single page, and I wanted to just show step by step what should be done. Um, I had already kind of made some of the folders and opened some things, so I'll just explain, what you would do if they weren't already there. So we're gonna act like we just opened this email request. So the first thing you'll do is, glance over it and make sure there's nothing special about it, or make sure it's not like a revision or a fix for a previous thing we've done. This one's definitely a new one. And they want the W20C, which is also called the SWB20. Uh, it's the plastic clear bottle with personalization. So they want the personalized brochure, and it's a single page. So we know that MegaDough has only one brochure like that. Uh, so I'll show you that in just a second. But everything else is pretty standard. It is online, and that's the ones where we have to make the online ID, and there's a spreadsheet for that. So I will go ahead, and first thing you should do is just make the folder for this school. So inside our brochures folder, there's the MegaDough folder for the vendor MegaDough, and then I made a Curtis Elementary folder. So you would make a new folder for the school, and inside that, there's always going to be a Z-Links folder because all of our images that get linked into the brochures go in there, and basically anything besides the SWB20 artwork will go in there. So you'll also have a folder for the SWB20 just on its own, and that will include an Illustrator file and two PDFs, which you'll see when we get to that step. So those are the only two you'll need for ones that have the SWB20 and are any brochure for it. So we have the folder made, and we need to open our template for the single page flyer, which in the MegaDough folder and all other vendors, if you sort by alphabetical by clicking just the name tab up here and scroll to the very top of the alphabetical order, there's an underscore brochures folder, and every vendor should have one. Some of the very old ones won't, but it's not likely you would ever see one that doesn't have it. So you click in there, and usually you should have the current year. And like if you don't, then you would click, of course, the previous year, or in some cases it means you're making a new one. But I don't think I would ever send you one where you have to make a new brochure. So 2022 is the current year, and we need the one page, which only one of our templates for them is a one pager, and it's the bottom here. Template 4 is a one page SWB20 clear bottle. So go ahead and open that, and this is it right here. Um, the main thing you want to do when you first open it is go ahead and set up the things that you'll need other than the bottles or the artwork. So the three things we need to mess with are the title, the school name, basically, the school ID, and the price. So the school name just needs to be Curtis Elementary. And after I make the very first change, I'm going to go ahead and save it in its own spot so I don't accidentally save over the template. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Well, oh, there we go. Okay, so save as, and then navigate to the school folder we just made and navigate to the Z-Links folder. And you can just add on to the end of this template name Curtis Elementary or whatever your school is. So we saved that. The other thing we needed to change was the price to $15. In fact, I am actually going to, well, I'll do that later. Okay. So you need to change it on the cover page and on the order taker. There are two spots right here. they're just tiny little prices, and you just change to 15 there. So everything's good on that. And then I'll hit save again, and then we just need to make the school ID, which is done in a spreadsheet called the Web Campaign Tracker, which I will have to share with you or link to you via email, or I may just give you the path to it. It's just one of the folders we use. So you open that, and the way we do it is we just add the next number in the sequence. But on the beginning right here, you also have 3 initials for, they're just an abbreviation for the vendor we're using. In the case of MegaDough, you put MDF, which is just for MegaDough fundraising. So MDF, and the next number would be 19274. And then you repeat that number right here. And then you add the school name in this tab, or cell actually. And then we need to check the state. So Louisiana, I think you just put LA, and then we'll also put these dates on there, 8/26 and 9/16. Add MegaDough, and then it was 8/26 and 9/19. If you write them with a slash, it'll automatically change it to show, the month abbreviated. I'm just going to double check those dates, 8/26 and 9/16. Yep. So that's done, and we have our code or ID now for their online campaign. So it's 19274. So we can go add that right here. 274. 19274. And there's another one right here in the instructions. So you always have to make sure you don't miss that. And as a side note, this brochure only has 2 pages, but on the 4-page ones, the second page will also have this box. So you'll actually need to add the ID 4 different times, 2 for this box and 2 more on the next page of the 4-pager. In this case, it's a 1-pager and it doesn't have that, so we don't have to worry about that spot. So I'll go ahead and save again, and now all that we need to do is make the artwork for these bottles. And so the next step is to open our clear bottle template, which I have it. I recently used it, so I can click that to open it. But if you haven't recently used it, the place to get it from is, let me stretch this out so it's got the full address. I'll probably have to send you all these links, or address, basically like paths. So you'll have to get it somehow, but basically you navigate into brochures for tumblers, templates. The 2021 is actually where our PDFs got stored, and they're all in there. So the one you need is the clear right here. It's SWB20 template 8.5 by 11 clear. And since I already have that linked in mine, I'm just going to click it in here. But that's the main template for the clear personalized bottle for MegaDough. There is a clear personalized one specifically for Big Kahuna that we use for just on their own. But it's basically the same template. There's just a minor difference. So they're the only one you use a specialty one for on the clear. Everyone else that says clear personalized bottle or clear bottle, it's going to be this template. So we already had downloaded their logo right there. So from your downloads, you can just drag it in. It's going to warn you you're not on a layer that you should move it into. You can hit yes, and while it's highlighted, drag the dot, which should be red because it's the red layer. You just drag it down to the bottom layer, which is the blue one that you're working on. It's just labeled layer 1. So now it's on the correct layer and we can edit. What we are going to do is actually vectorize it. And if you don't have all of these tools, like all these little windows open, the place to get them open is under window, and anything check marked is what is up out here. And the one you need for vectorizing is called image trace. So in here you would click image trace and it should pop this up, which you can move wherever you want. I have them arranged a certain way because this is how I flow with the work. I need all of these very frequently. So you'll need stroke. In the stroke folder, if you double click the tab, it's going to start out like this with just the stroke weight. But if you double click twice, you should get all the options, because you do need all of these stroke related options. Same thing for the other windows. They're all kind of like that. Oh, actually, I just realized it added. There we go. It added a couple things I didn't need. But if you just keep double clicking, it will keep adding or subtracting features. This is, I think, I can't get rid of that bottom area, but we need this area. But anyways, so all of these are in window and you check mark what you want. So you might either use my screen to see what you need, or over time you'll just know which ones you use frequently. But stroke, align, pathfinder, appearance, attributes, and image trace are the most important ones. You'll already have layers open most likely. And you don't need this one. I don't remember why I had it open, but it's just sort of in the corner there. So the step we're on involves using image trace to vectorize this artwork. The way you can tell it's not vectorized is it doesn't have all the little points. Like when I click these and use the direct select tool, you can see that it's vector art. It's got all the points. This has an X, which just means it's an image and not vector art. So we're going to vectorize it. The way to do that is on the drop down next to image trace. You'll select, if it's only a 3-color logo, you would do 3, or if it's 2 colors, still do 3 and then lower it. In this case, I can see it's got a lot more than just 3. It's got at least 5 or 6, so we'll try 6 and see what it looks like. Now see, it kind of removes some of the color. I am going to go up to 10 and see what happens. Still didn't fix it. Let's try 15. Yeah, you want some of that depth of color. It's at the same time I can see some artifacts appearing, which we don't want. So I think what I'm going to do is go back down to 5 or 6. Definitely not 5. 6 is close to the original, except the white became a creamy color, which doesn't look bad, but it's not quite like the original logo. So the eyes have some pretty good detail in the original. Yeah, there's a lot of lost detail here. Let's try upping. If you up paths, you'll get more detail. Like, see, now there's more detail to the eyes. And if you lower noise you don't want to go too low. I would say 2 is the lowest to go. That will help with some of the imperfections. Like, see how it gets a little bit more detailed and better. I think what happened when I went all the way down before is that, yeah, see, it kind of somehow it bugs out. So I'll stay around 2 on that one. And then corners is just how many sharp corners you have. If it's too low, everything will be rounded, and if it's too high, you'll have extremely sharp corners. I didn't see much change just now when I changed it, but I'll keep it on the slightly higher end, like above the 50% mark. And this looks okay. Like I said, I'm going to change the white back to from a creamy white to a very bright white when I'm done. I think it's ready. You can hit ignore white to get rid of all the white around everything. The only problem is the white inside here might disappear. It looks like it didn't this time. Let's see. I'm going to move it over here so I can see through if it... Okay, it did delete it. So, there is a solution for that, and we would have done this anyway, so this will fix it. What we're going to do for now is shrink this down and zoom in using Control Plus, or you can just manually zoom in, but Control Plus is the hotkey for that. And I'm going to pause real quick because I think I just got an email. So it won't, when I pause, it'll just be a brief pause on the video. Okay, we are back. I just had to answer an email. And so the stage we were at, we just vectorized this, but we had to remove the white, or to save the hassle of going into all these letter holes to delete the white. I told it to ignore white, and as a result, this got left with some holes in it. But what we almost always do on the clear bottle anyways, is add white behind and around the logo. So that'll get filled in when we do that step right now. So to do that, you just move the logo down to this corner so you can kind of see through the clear spots. You hit Control C for copy and Control F, which pastes the copy right over itself. So then you hold Shift and hit the up arrow a few times. I do it 5 or 6 times. And so the copy we just made, the reason to do it this way instead of hitting copy paste with V is that when you paste with F right over itself and you hold Shift to move it, it stays locked into a certain movement spacing system. So when we're done, we can move it exactly back over. See, I'm holding Shift, and it allows me to go exactly where I was before. So that's the reason for doing the Control F instead of Control V to paste it. So after doing Control F, holding Shift, and moving up, you click the bottom one, the original one, and we're going to use our Pathfinder tool, and you're going to click Unite. And it doesn't matter what color it is right now, we're going to fix that. But you can see it's still not filling that hole in. So I'm going to click Merge and then click Unite again, and for whatever reason that usually does fill it in. So then we'll change this to white, which if you double click the color and just hit F 6 times, that's the code for the hex code for white. You can also, if you don't like typing the hex code, you can just click in here to change it, of course. But to save time, I've just gotten the habit of hitting F real quick 6 times. So we got it white, and we do want to add a stroke, and that of course also should be white. And you can up the stroke to 3 or 4. I'm looking at it. Once you do that, I'd say 3. And this is where you're going to need those tools that are in the stroke menu that you double click to kind of open up. You're going to need the round cap, round join, and then set the stroke to the outside, which you'll see it makes it go a lot further outside the line. The default for it is more in the middle of the edge. So this just sets it on the very, very edge, and that's how you get it to, look thicker. So the middle one, and then the outer, or the third option. So we have it set like that. The only other thing we need to do is outline this stroke, because as it is currently, it's not vectorized on the outside fully. It's sort of attached onto the vector of the other art. So the way you do that is you go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke, and you'll see it just added an extra line there. That's vector data for the outside. So now it's all vectorized. What I have done to save the time of having to click this each time to go to Outline Stroke is I set up a hotkey using something called Actions. So if you want to do that, I'll show you how. You go to the Window tab, select Actions, and when you get your little Actions window here, you make a new folder, So I've already got one, but what I'll do is make a new one just so you can see. So we'll call it um, Malcolm's folder 2 or something. You'll just name it. I name it like Malcolm Custom Actions or something like that. So you can put your name or put custom actions. That's probably I'll just say custom actions. What actions are is they let you record the actions that you do and then assign them to any key or hotkey that you want. So that's what we're going to do for that outline stroke. So you make the folder and then you hit new action. It's the little plus symbol here while you have your folder highlighted, and that makes a new action. So we can leave it as action 1, or we'll call it outline stroke actually, because that's the action we're doing. And then you leave it under the set or folder that we just made, and the key that you want, I have mine set to F2, but since I already have that one made, I'm going to do F3 for right now. And you don't want to click either of these because you just want to be able to hit that one key for it. And color is just kind of how it's organized. I'll just set it as blue. And then when you click record, you're now in record mode. Oh wait, actually looks like we're not. Oh, we are. Okay. So by default, you're already recording once you click that. And so I'm going to go, anything you do is being recorded right now. So as soon as you get to this point, you'll go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke, and then hit Stop. So we just recorded the action of outlining stroke. And to test it out real quick, I'm going to make something that has a stroke, and I'll set the stroke really thick. Oh, there's one. Okay, test. So that's the word test with a huge stroke on it. And I'm going to hit F3, which we just set up, and see if it outlines it. Oh, first I have to, okay, there we go. So you can see there's the actual font, and the outline is that thick part. So when I hit F3, it should outline it. Yep, it did. So now you can see it's got the points around it. I'll undo it. So this is it without it. You can see that the stroke is not outlined, but the inside is. So when I hit F3, it just outlined it. So that's that action we just made. So that's all that's for, but it saves you the hassle of having to go click 3 times in here just to outline a stroke. So that's just a side thing. If you want any action that you do frequently, you can set up like that. In this case, I already have it made, so I'm going to delete that one we just made. But just so you know, that's why sometimes I may, instead of saying outline stroke and going to the menu, I'll just click F2 because I have it hotkeyed like that as an action. But anyways, back to this. We just outlined the stroke on that back layer. So you can now click the top one and hold shift and move it back down with the down arrow until it lines up. So now you can see it filled in those clear spots, and on top of that we've got a nice white border, which for the clear bottle helps the art stand out. So now we just move it, highlight both of them. If you want them to be merged together, because right now they are still separate, you can see I can move it off. If you want to merge them together, just have them both highlighted and click this merge under the Pathfinder. So merge will make, now they're all one solid piece. Sometimes it's better to leave them apart because then you can change it later. Actually, I see an error. Oh no, it's okay. I thought I saw something wrong up here, but there's a little bump there. It's because of an artifact. That's a art issue. Like when they give us art that isn't great, it is going to have some artifacts like that sometimes. And usually they're fine with it, but if there is an issue, we just have to request better art from them. Like, we can only work with what they give us, so in general, they're fine with tiny, that's going to be barely noticeable on the final print, so that's okay. And the general rule of thumb for this clear area is right here from this edge all the way to the path or the die line right here. I say divide it into 3 and use the middle third for the art. So right now the art is a little bit wide. It's kind of hard on art where the text is going to be too small if we shrink it a lot. So I may go more than a third on this one, like about this big. Let's see. Yeah, because this is going to wrap around the bottle a bit, and that's okay in this case. I would say if it's a big logo, you don't want it to wrap around, but because the text is so small, the logo would be too small if we keep shrinking it. I might even drag it back a little larger. Whoops. Maybe about there. But in general, about a third of this space is where you want the art to fit. So we have that done. They wanted it to be green and orange. We can check on the email. I lost the email. There it is. Yeah, green and orange. So we'll just match the green and orange that they have. Since the text on the personalization generally has to be black, we need a lighter color on this sidebar. So either one would work. If we do green, then the art here has to be orange. I'm thinking I'll do orange and make the art green. We'll add a black stroke to this while we have it highlighted and set it to 2 weight, because these sort of shadow on right here is also 2, so we just want it to kind of balance out and match the same thickness. And so all we need to change now is the slashy part. And this section of the art is kind of buggy. You can't just select it all, because if you do that, I'll show you it fills in the whole thing. So what you have to do is use the magic wand, which if you hit the Y key, that's the hotkey for that. So I have the magic wand now, and you're going to want to select the top sliver here that's got the reddish color, and that will select all of them. And we're going to I think I'm going to make those orange. Let's see. I'll try orange first. And then we'll select with the magic wand the black part, and we'll change that to green and see what it looks like. I don't like the orange there. If we make it black, it'll balance out with the black in the artwork, like the tiger. If it does what it just did, where it selects other orange pieces, the easiest way to get rid of them is to use the eye tool or eyeball here, make them invisible, and then you can bring them back and they won't be selected. So now we only have the orange on the slashes that we want to change. And I'm just going to make those match the black of the tiger, which looks like it's actually it's like a dark brown, but that way I think that looks a little better. It matches the art better. So all this layer is done, and the next step is going to involve the pink layer, which is basically a white spot color ink that we represent with a pink color. So that's the next step. Okay, so the pink spot color layer, what we need to do for that is select this entire bottom blue layer by clicking the little box on the very end. That allows you to select the whole layer and all of its contents. And you're going to hit Control C for copy, Control F to paste it over itself. And once you've hit Control F, it's got all the new copies already kind of selected. So you drag the top dot here up to the white layer, which is a green color, it's marked with a green dot. you let go and they'll all be in that layer now. And while we're working with them, just turn off the bottom blue layer. If you don't, you can accidentally end up changing things on the blue layer. So now we have just a copy that's going to be where we apply the special spot color layer. And what I mean by that is our printer has a special ink in its own drum, like its own drum of ink that's a white color, and we print that on the clear bottle so that the ink that goes on that's colored is opaque. If we don't put that white layer, it's basically see-through. So all of this artwork would be like transparent, and they don't like that. So that's what this whole bit is for that white ink. And we mark it with this pink color just so we can see it on the art, but the system that prints it actually knows that the word white right here, it basically triggers it to use that special ink. It's like literally coded to look for this word. So we have it set up as a spot color instead of process, which is normal printing ink. And I just marked it with the pink so we could see it better. So that's what all this is about. So on this copied layer that we made, once we have it ready to go like it is, you get rid of the text on this sidebar because it's not going to matter. It's getting printed over with the real text on the other layers. So then the box right here, it doesn't have the stroke outlined yet. So that hotkey or action key we made earlier, that would be F2 key, you can either hit that, which I just did, or if you don't have it set up for that, you can go Object, Path, Outline Stroke. So we outlined that, and we need to make it the spot color, which will always be in your swatches tab. So you make the main box the spot color, and make sure you don't accidentally put it in the stroke box here, because that'll jack things up. But should be fine as long as you got it in the right box. The logo we had added a stroke to, but we already outlined that stroke. So the only thing I'm going to do just for cleanness sake is click on the Unite Pathfinder tool. That way it's all one solid shape, and then just click the color, the spot color. And then go select the magic wand or hit the Y key, which is the hotkey for that. And you select all the slashy thin lines that are black right now. You change those, and you select all of the other green ones and change those. You can't just click the arrow here because of what I showed you earlier, where it fills the whole thing in, which would ruin it would just cover up the clear plastic. So you have to use the magic wand for those. But we have it all ready and set up for the spot color, and you just click right here to select the entire layer. So we want it all selected, and you'll have attributes open, and you just click until you see a check mark for overprint fill under attributes. So overprint fill just allows you to see through this layer when we turn the eye back on for this one. So now we can see it's showing us the main layer through the spot color layer. So we can see anything pink is actually going to be white, and that allows us to just kind of see what it's going to come out like. It's a little weird how it filled in some of these, but it's so close to how it would look if we did the stroke properly that I'm not going to mess with it. It'll be white, and it'll just... One thing we could do, let me zoom in. It's kind of preference. It's up to you, really. If you want, you can try to fill in some of these if you feel like it looks awkward. I don't think it looks bad enough to be worth filling in. But when it prints, basically you're going to have clear right here, and all the pink's going to be white. There's going to be clear right here. Like normally you would probably maybe try to fill in this area, Um, I think it looks fine enough as it is, so I'm not going to. But that's a personal judgment thing. And also the school, if they dislike it, they will send it back, but that's okay. I don't think they will on this, so I'm not worried about it. But if you aren't sure on something, you can make a decision on your own for something like that, and just, if they don't like it, you'll get it sent back, and that's the only issue you would have to worry about. So we're done with how it looks. So we just need to save it. We've got all the layers set up properly. So I'm going to go to Save As and navigate to the MegaDough folder and then Curtis Elementary. That was the school we're on. And this is going to go in the SWB20 folder that we made. And you leave SWB20, but just then add Curtis Elementary or whatever your school is. And whoops. And then add the words with die line. Oh. And go ahead and save it and leave the default settings here. And then we're going to remove the your name here from that bottom blue layer. So we don't want the text there, because the personalized text is going to be automatically placed here by software, by Fusion Pro. So now we save as and change it to PDF and leave this one as saying with die line. And then on this pop-up, you're going to select the preset X4 2008. I just call it the X4 preset. And once you select that, everything else you just leave alone, but then you save it with that preset. Our printer has to have that one for some reason. So then you're going to save it again, but without the die line. So the top layer that's red, you just click the eye on that and save as a PDF again, but change the word with to without die line, and then just save it. And it should already have the X4 selected because you already selected it a minute ago. So you leave it alone and click save. So now we've got all the flat files they need to print for the tumbler, and we just need to make the mock-ups for the brochure now. And so you turn the text for your name here back on, and you turn off all the pink layer because we want it to look exactly how it should on the bottle. So then you select all of it, and you're going to hit Control-C to copy it and go to Photoshop. And you should already have these open. I will send you the links for these 3 files, or the location of them rather. They are called SWB20 use only for white background, SWB20 cropped, and SWB20 mockup scene. I think what I will do is change these. In fact, I'll do it right now. So I'm going to close them. I'm going to change them so that they're labeled step 1, step 2, step 3. That way it's a little more logical the way they're named. So real quick, even though it's on the recording, I'll just go ahead and do it. That way it's a whole lot more logical. So this one is actually step 1. Whoops, this one is step 2. And the mock-up scene is step 3. There's also a white background, so I'll call that step 3 optional or something. Step 3B optional. Or I'll just call it 3B no need to use. That one's only, we rarely get them asking if they, we rarely get them asking for the white background. They usually, for the mock-up scene, they want the background that has a table in it, because it kind of shows a realist, a mock-up of what they would really look like. Okay, so we've changed the names. I'm going to go ahead and put them back into Photoshop now. And we can organize them in order. I have my windows like this because oftentimes I need to do things in the SWB20 and the 24 ounce. Right now I don't. But the way you do that is you can drag an item over here until you see this blue line pop up. Now it's not working. Oh, there it goes. So if you do that, it'll kind of pop up over there, and you'll have a split, which allows you to, work on multiple things at once, or at least see them at once. But anyways, so we want step 1, 2, and 3. Whoops. To be in order. And I actually am going to move this out kind of over here. There we go. So we're on step 1. You're going to delete only this layer that's got the other artwork from previously, if there is any. And you're going to want the bottom layer highlighted even though it's not turned on, because when we paste, we want the art to go directly above that. So back to Illustrator, make sure you have this all selected on the layer 1. You hit Control C for copy, go to Photoshop, and we've already got that selected, and we hit Control V for paste. And you can it'll either be on Smart Object or Pixels, either one is fine. Just hit OK. And now you resize this to fit the bottle as close as you can get. That's about right. And then hit enter. And then you're gonna use the move tool, which should already be selected, but it's up there, or you can hit V to make sure it's selected. You hold shift and move left. That'll move faster than just moving left with the arrow. So shift and arrow key left. And just try to get it centered. Because this one is so stretched out, it's going to be pretty hard to center it. So I think I'll just make sure they can see a little bit of the tiger's head and most of the text. Maybe even a little more of the tiger. It's kind of hard. That's all right, about right there. And so we've got that ready, and you're going to hit Control Alt S for saving as a copy. And you're going to navigate back to our school folder and the Z-Links folder inside of that. And make sure you have PNG selected, and change or add on to the end of the name FR or the word front. I do FR just because it takes less time than writing it out, but you can put anything that, as long as you know that this is the front view of the bottle. And then you save it and hit OK. And just hold shift and move to the right now, so we can have the sidebar up. And you're going to say Control Alt S again to save another copy, and navigate back to that folder and make it a PNG, and then add SD or the word side onto the end of the title or file name. Click OK. Now we're ready for step 2, which just involves dragging the ones we just made in. I think I told you before, I am going to work on making this process a little easier eventually. I just haven't been able to currently. So we got to get back to the folder we were in. There we go. And do the first one, or front one first. So this is the front view. So when I dragged it in, it brought up the transform, handlebars. You just hit enter to lock it in place. And then you drag this layer mask up to the layer we just brought in, and then select the bottom layer and delete it. So now we've got a clear view of the bottle so you can see through it. And you just are going to save it. So Control Alt S, and then navigate back to the folder and make sure it's on PNG again, and add the letters FR or front to the title or file name. And then we need to drag in the side one right here. And once you drag it in, you hit enter, and then you drag the layer mask up onto it, and then delete the old layer. And we're going to hit Control Alt S again, navigate back to the file, and then select PNG and add SD to the name. Save it, click OK. And now we're on the final step. So you click the top layer, right click on it, go to relink to file, and then navigate to that folder we were putting our files in. And you're going to select the cropped front or FR and double click so it relinked in there. And you're going to do the same thing on this one, right click, relink to file, and then find the side view in their folder. And there we go. So that one's ready. And to save it, we're going to do Control Alt S. Find the folder again. And save it as a JPEG. So just regular JPEG. And leave the title as it is, or the file name. And just click OK on the pop-up. So those are done, and the only thing left now is to relink them in their brochure image. So you can click on the front view first and then hit Control D, and that brings up the linking menu or relinking menu. And then you'll find the schools folder we were in and select the cropped front. And then on the second one, you select it, hit Control D, and select the cropped side view. It should already be in the folder. In InDesign, it leaves the same folder you had as the path. Like we just selected this one, so it knew to bring up the folder. I don't know why the other software doesn't. When you save, it doesn't try to navigate for you. But we relinked it, and everything else has already been done correctly. You can just do one more comb over of the email. We already know the price is $15, and we already made the code or the online ID for their campaign, and we already changed the school name, so we're good there. So I'm going to hit save one more time. And then the last thing you need to do after you are done and you've saved is go to export. So file, export, and navigate to the schools folder. And in the top layer of the folder, so as soon as you open it, you'll save, this is a PDF of the brochure. And it should have the same name you saved it as for the InDesign file. So it's already correct, and you just hit save. And on this, you leave it alone and hit export. And click OK. So while it does that, oh, it already finished. Okay. So you just do that, and you can see it put that PDF here. So just to see that it worked, I'll click on it, and you can see, yeah, it's all there. And that'll be what they print out for the brochure for the school, or flyer. It's kind of like a one-page flyer. So we are done with that one, basically. So the only thing you'll need to do after that is on the email, you'll send it back to whoever sent it to you. In this case, it was Larry. But I would also CC me on there, because that, like, you'll see the emails are coming from me, but they're going to be forwarded. So it should show you that it originally came from Larry. But basically, you'll send it back to him and CC me on there, so that I am aware you finished it. And then you'll want to, well, I'll go ahead and do that now. So you'll just hit reply, and you can use the recent items to attach the brochure you made. And you also want to attach that mock-up scene, the step 3, because that is something the school uses on their website, I think, to show what they look like for the online campaign. So Larry or Brian will need both of those. So we did that, and we go ahead and send it to them. Now remember, you would CC me on there. I didn't, because obviously I'm already know, but normally you would send it back to Larry and CC me in that same email. So we're done with that. The last thing to do is I'll give you the path to this folder, but the workflow log is where we mark off what we've done. And I will have already put these on here for you. So that one was MegaDough Curtis Elementary, which is this one right here. And you'll probably see your initials here because I'll have sent it to you if it's one for you to do. But you just put in the red box the date that you finished it on. So it's 8/22, and it'll change it to green to mark it off. So that's just how we track them. But go ahead and click save, and you can close that. So I will be sending you a path to things like this, like the workflow log. I don't even know where they are by memory, but because once you've used them in Excel, they'll be linked in here. It's on the Z drive. You can see the path right here. It's actually directly on the Z drive, and I'm probably able to, let's see if we can open, file location. So I'll just be sending you paths, but in this case, it's literally just go to the Z drive, which is one of our servers, and it's inside that. And it should be, if you sort by date modified, it should be one of the top 3 or 4 because it's one we use very frequently. So it's always going to be the most, often used or recently used. But I will send you links to this, to the web campaign tracker, and I'll try to even send you paths to all these folders, particularly brochure for tumblers, because that's where all the schools are at, or the vendors for the schools. So you definitely are going to need that. I'll send you the template folder because that's where the flat files are, and it's where the template Photoshop template files are, which is what all of these are. So you're going to need all that for sure. But I will send you an email that has all those in it. So you don't, if you're wondering like during the video, like how the heck am I going to find those? You don't have to worry. I'll send you the links and I'll try to label them. So that'll probably be the next thing I do after making this video. But anyways, so you basically, that's it for the MegaDough. And the video, of course, is very long, but in real life, when you're actually making them, once you have it all memorized, it shouldn't take too long. I would say sometimes if the artwork's really bad, it can take up to 30 minutes for one. But in general, you can get one done in 20 minutes or less. So at least on these, it always depends on what the brochure is like and what the artwork is and how many bottles. If there's a lot of tumblers and we're making images for more than just this, then that makes it take longer. But for these in general, they're not too bad. So that's it, and that's how you make one. So you can just email me with questions along the way if you get stuck on any part of the process. But that's it for now.